He was a man of wealth, power, and tragedy. When his beloved wife passed away unexpectedly, he was left alone with their 2-year-old son. The boy cried every night, calling out for his mother, staring at her photo like it was the only thing anchoring him to this world. The house became a silent prison of memories. Echoes of laughter turned into distant shadows. Then came the neighbor, a woman who always smiled a little too wide and lingered a little too long. She appeared helpful, warm, offering food, help with the child, soft words when the man was most broken. Eventually, she slipped into the role of a wife. But she hadn't come for love. She came for comfort, for control, for the fortune that draped itself over every corner of that mansion. In time, she gave birth to a son of her own, and that's when her smiles faded. Her eyes now glared at the older boy, not with care, but calculation. She feared he would inherit everything. She feared being left with nothing, and fear, in her heart, fermented into poison. Each night, while the boy lay asleep, she would whisper softly beside his bed, but not with words. With her fingers, she'd slide tiny objects into his ear. Insects, worms. Not the literal kind, no, but soaked in oils, mixed with whispers she'd been taught in hushed circles, meant to rot his mind slowly, secretly. A curse designed to erode him from the inside. The boy began changing. He became quiet, often confused. His vision blurred. He stumbled, forgot simple words, stared blankly at walls. His father, consumed by work and trusting his new wife, failed to see it or perhaps refused. But fate has its own way of balancing scales. One day, the boy's late mother's sister came to visit. She hadn't seen him in years, and when she looked into his eyes, something inside her twisted. It wasn't just sadness. It was warning, alarm. She begged the father to let her take him away for a short while, just a few weeks. With reluctance, he agreed. Away from that house, things slowly began to shift. Doctors were puzzled by the strange inflammation in the boy's ears. Therapists noticed gaps in cognition not typical for his age. Specialists worked on his speech, his balance, his memory, and the aunt she prayed. Every night, she burned nothing, summoned no spirits, just faith and patience. Months passed. One morning, the boy, now stronger, sat up in bed and said, clear as day, "Mama." The aunt wept. Back at the mansion, the woman sat at the dinner table alone. She had prepared fish, as she always did on Fridays. But this time, a sharp bone lodged itself in her throat. She coughed, gasped, clutched at her neck, but there was no one home. No help, no mercy. She collapsed beside the table, her eyes wide open, locked in terror. A few weeks later, her son, the one she tried to secure the empire for, drowned in a nearby lake. A neighbor found his little shoes by the water, but the boy was gone before anyone even knew he was missing. Years later, the older boy, once damaged, now determined, returned. He took over his father's company, managed it with grace, and rebuilt what had been nearly lost. He married, had children of his own, and lived not with revenge in his heart, but a lesson. He never spoke ill of the woman who tried to destroy him. He didn't need to. Life had done that already. Wickedness whispers in the dark, but it always echoes back louder. What you send into the world returns to you